Well, we get into our very next conversation, and it's going to be a conversation bordering on many matters of national scope, national concern. But first of all, we are going to focus on the economy and the budget statement to be delivered tomorrow by the Minister for Finance. That is assuming that pans out. And we're joined by our guests. Let me just mention that we have in the studio, and I'll be going on Zoom shortly with a special guest for this discussion. But we are joined in the studio by Member of Parliament for South Dai, Roxanne Nelson Dafiamekbo. We also have the Member of Parliament for Kwadaso, Dr. Kingsley Nyako. Both of them are in the studio. Seniors, a very good morning to you.
Good morning. Morning to you. Morning to my people in South Dine.
Right.
I go back yesterday. And good morning to my brother.
Great. How about you, Doc? It's been a while since you came on the show. It's been a number of months.
About 3 months,
Really?
So, yeah.
Over how many?
3 months.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
3 months.
I've moved around a lot. So I want to also take the opportunity to greet my constituents from Kwadaso, Santima and people of Ghana, and your good self. We have not met for a very long time, but it's my very good brother, So I know tomorrow we are going to hear very good news, news that will further transform the fortunes of the economy.
Salutations.
Oh, but
He started.
The man is taking off.
No wahala. But thank you so much, gentlemen. Let me go over the Zoom connection and also engage our very special guest on this one, Dr. Mark Esibe Yeboah. He is former chair of the Finance Committee of Parliament, also a former member of Parliament. He joins the conversation. Doc, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making the time to join us.
Yeah, good morning.
Right, so let's get...
He's abandoned and forsaken me.
He's okay, this allegation, only you can respond to, Doc. I'll not even get into the middle of it. Any response to that?
I've just gone underground.
That's right.
Why? If I may ask, why have you gone underground? Any specific reason?
Just cooling off.
I see. Okay, so let's get into it. Tomorrow, the expectation is that we shall have the budget statement read and all of that. And that will also impact any IMF deal. I have heard you speak to the issue and say that, look, if by December the 22nd we don't have some conclusivity on our budget, is going to affect an IMF deal and all of that. It's going to be very problematic. Let's start from there. In terms of the IMF talks so far, where exactly are we? Do you have any idea?
Not exactly, but I know the fund have been on occasions, and the ministry was also at the fund meetings in October. We were there from October 11th to about 19th. We expect the IMF team back in town end of November. That will be after the presentation of the budget. We have been engaging them since July, so to all intents and purposes, we've done a lot of work, and some of it will feed into the budget presented tomorrow. But formal program has not been signed off because at this level, government is engaging IMF staff. The staff would have to agree to a staff program will be. Looking at timelines, we are looking at somewhere first quarter next year. So a formal program will take off maybe in April 2020.
How and the I don't know, your microphone is a bit problematic right now. So maybe if you could speak up as we move forward, just so we can hear you better. Right. So from all that we've seen so far, the different thoughts about a haircut, no haircut, to other discussions that we've had, Are we looking like we're going to be able to clinch a deal before the end of year or start of next year? Is that very realistic to assume right now?
No, I don't think there will be a deal in place by the end of this year. No. As I said, the team will be in town again end of November, and we might also have to go there again and firm things up. So if we are able to have an agreement, then a program would formally take off sometime first quarter next year, maybe March, April. That's what I'm saying. One of the pillars of the next fund program will be a debt restructuring. Our debt has become unsustainable, and so there was a DSC and debt sustainability analysis, which underpinned the program that we have until we heard of a no haircut, which was later tidied up to mean that no haircut on principal. So there's going to be some haircut on interest, and so there's a new DSA being conducted. If we know the new debt sustainability analysis results, then some form of announcement has to take place. When you are going to restructure your debt, there has to be a formal announcement that we are entering that phase where we cannot fulfill our obligations as expected of us. And then I'm sure the budget will touch on it. And so in the coming weeks, there should be some debt restructuring of some form. And then thereafter, we can fully agree to a program. And then
speaking of which, so yes, we should expect an IMF deal. It's the timelines that are a bit problematic right now. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes. So far, engagements. Ghana has been a friendly partner of the fund, and so we are in their good books, and they wouldn't want to abandon us at this stage. And so I think that is important and first quarter, but the nitty-gritties are being sorted out. And as I said, we have to get this debt restructuring.
So let's look at some of the challenges that have led us to where we find ourselves currently. You have been chair of the Finance Committee of Parliament. We were told recently by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta that our borrowing now has, summed up to about 450 billion Ghana cedis. We know that before your administration took over, we were looking at around 120, 140 billion. It means we've added on about 340, 350 billion. We also are grappling right now with an exchange rate situation. The Bank of Ghana may have its rate, but it appears Abochi also has the dollar. And that has created a system out there. I checked only a few days ago, and the dollar is going for around 14.90, 15 cedis out there, which is way higher than the official rate of around 13 cedis and more. Then you look at inflation for October, 40.4% and all of that. When you take a look at all of these matters and you look forward to the budget, what do you see and what realistically can we do?
Our economy is not in the best of shapes. All of us agree to that. Maybe the finance minister went to Parliament to say he was sorry for what has happened to the economy. Interest rates are at a 40-year high. Inflation, the currency has depreciated about 55% this year. That is why a fund program is key in the scheme of things. If we agree to a fund program, and let's say we are able to get some $3 billion, it comes to shore up our reserves. So that will be some balance of payment support. Additionally, you see the World Bank come in, give us budget support annually for the entire period of the program. The European Union, once you are with the fund, they will also come in. And then you see African Development Bank and other bilateral partners coming. What we then begin to see is a strengthening of the currency. So the fund program for starters will look at in terms of restoring the strength of the currency. Once the currency begins to take shape, inflation is calculated on a year-on-year basis. And so once it's been so high, definitely from next year we'll see inflation come back down. Because it's done on a year-on-year basis, and now the base would have been a higher, say 40% from this year. So inflation will start falling from next year. And then once inflation starts, we'll see some investments. So one, let's get a fund program in place. Once it's in place, our currency will see some movements, and then inflation from next year start coming down together with interest rates. And the fund will bring some discipline. Okay? That has ballooned because the expenditure has been on the high side. It is the expenditure that is fueling the borrowing. And so we have to tame the spending. I would want to see in the budget some cuts. People have advocated cuts in the size of the government. There are some of the programs which can go. I don't see why we should be fixated on rolling out all the programs to the end. And so on the expenditure side, that is under our control. That's the easiest to do. So once you cut down government size, you take us on the flagship programs. And then the revenue side, once you are in a fund program, it is austerity mode. We are going to see some increases in taxes, VAT. I don't know about petroleum, but there are going to be some increases in taxes, which will bite hard. And if you look at the state of the economy, the hardships, and then with this austere measures coming in, I think we have to brace up. We have to brace up for a difficult 2023.
We have to brace up for a difficult 2023. But speaking of the difficulties, look at the exchange rate, for example. The American Federal Reserve, the dollar has lost about 4% of value from rising to about 15% against all other currencies. The only problem is the Federal Reserve still remains hawkish. We don't know whether it's still going to tighten monetary policy rates and how that will affect the Ghana cedi. There's also the bit about, again, on our currency, the cutting of forex to for the import of certain commodities that supposedly we can produce here, the rice, the oil, and all of that. But if you know any economics, you would also be quick to note that once the Bank of Ghana is not giving these traders forex, they will have to fall on the black market, the same black market we want to, push away. How does that work as far as our foreign exchange is concerned?
My view is that the traders don't get their forex from the Bank of Ghana. Those going to Turkey and importing from India and China, they don't get their forex from the Bank of Ghana. They don't. It's too much power. So they are already dealing in the black market. That's where they get their forex. And so I don't see this move not to sell to importers of certain goods having so much of an impact on the currency. As a matter of fact, you have to boost domestic production, which is the first. So which one comes first? It's a chicken and egg situation. You don't cut off forex to them when you haven't put in place measures to boost domestic production. For instance, rice. If we say we are not giving people forex to import rice, are we ready to provide enough rice to feed? You should grow rice the size of all of that. Maybe stretch it to about the whole of Greater Accra to feed the whole of the country. Poultry products. If you ban if they don't have forex and they don't bring in poultry products, if you want to buy a fowl, that's about 70 cedis. Most people can get pieces from these imported poultry products, and that's their source of protein. And so we should focus attention on boosting local production, agriculture. That's where the emphasis should be. I haven't seen the planting for food and jobs generate the results that would make us self-sufficient in production. So the emphasis should be there, not these ad hoc measures as it were.
Let's focus on the budget now, the budget statement for 2023. Word on the streets, first of all, is that Ken Ofori-Atta is set to resign. How much do you know about that?
I think the member of parliament in your studio will be best. He's an insider, I'm underground. So, I'm not even on the bench, I'm in the stands.
Submarine. So. He's submarine.
So he will be best to tell, but as far as I know, he'll be in the house tomorrow to present budget. So as to him resigning later on or staying on, I think we'll leave that to you.
What do you honestly think about the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta? Your members of parliament have said that his position is no longer tenable because the people have lost faith in him. They disagree with the minority that he's engaged in criminality and those 7 points that, were brought to the fore in front of the ad hoc committee in Parliament on the motion of censure. But they say the people have lost confidence in him and he should go. But I've heard you interestingly say that he should be allowed to read the budget and all of that, contrary to what many of your members of Parliament are saying. What exactly is your stance? Has it changed and why?
No, but these are two mutually exclusive issues. Reading the budget, getting the appropriations through is different from the call for him to resign or to be fired. Seriously, I don't have an opinion on whether he should be fired or he should stay. I'm only saying that the agreement reached on the 9th of October 25th between the members of Parliament, the majority members of Parliament and the President should be respected. They issued a statement that the President has asked them to let Ofori-Atta see the budget through and then also the appropriation. And I say that the appropriation is key. If the appropriation is not passed by 22nd December, it has implications for the whole economy next year. Mind you, this budget has ingredients of the fund program we are trying to agree to. And so this is key. My interest is in the budget being presented and also the appropriations bill passed. How can there be a finance minister in place and he doesn't go to Parliament to present the budget? So somebody goes to present the budget and then he still continues as a finance minister. If he remains finance minister, then as a matter of course, he must present the budget. Thereafter, if he has to be let go, then the decision makers will make the move.
Heard of, is it? I mean, we've seen this happen before, and even recently, of course, they operate under a different system, but Kwesi Kwarteng, when things were falling out, he was sacked. And, Jeremy Hunt took his place. Liz Truss herself had to move out for Rishi Sunak to take over. But are you saying that it's impossible, for example, at this point, for a finance minister to step aside? After all, like some have suggested, it is just about the detail. In fact, some members of Parliament from your end have said that it's not unheard of. I think Arnaud Dompre has said that anyone can read a budget. Any Minister of State can read a budget. At a point in time when Ken Ofori-Atta could not, fulfill that role, the majority leader, Osei Mensah Bonsu, did that. So what exactly is the problem?
The problem is that the law doesn't say that the budget should be read. Yeah. You shall present a budget before Parliament, to Parliament. So Kwesi Kwarteng didn't read any budget. The minister can just come and
I only brought that as we can focus on the fact that Osei Mensah Bonsu, played that role before.
But how can I prepare my budget and somebody goes to read it? When he's done, then I still work on the budget. Does it make sense? The guy is the one preparing the budget. Even today, he's preparing the budget. Tomorrow, he will make him, then he brings it to whoever. When he's done, I still go to Parliament, this budget, go and defend it.
I think you misunderstood me. The point is, if he is let go of before the reading of the budget, let's say if he had been let go of a week ago or something of the sort, I mean, would it have been something disproportionate or out of proportion to have someone else read the budget? That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yes, I argue that the reading of the budget is unnecessary. Just release the budget into the on the internet. The budget is presented. You go to Parliament, you just bow. That exercise, 1 hour, 2 hours, it's unnecessary. Because you only read an abridged version. You don't read everything in detail. So
it's a constitutional requirement, isn't it?
That it shall be presented in Parliament, not read. The reading is cosmetic. You can take it off. It won't change anything.
Well, that also brings me to the other matter, a very thorny issue, really. The finance minister, from all that we gather, is going to be presenting the budget tomorrow. But there's a sticky situation because majority MPs, a number of them, and I'll find out from Dr. Kingsley Nyako, who's in the studio with me, whether he's one of them, have said that they may, please allow me to do this, they may walk out. A number of them, we don't know how many, but that they may stage a walkout, backed by the minority caucus as well, which has said that if that happens, they will also follow suit. You're fully aware that a quorum is required for the finance minister to present the budget to Parliament. If that
That's
happened,
not
it
true.
would be the first time.
That's not true.
What
That's what
exactly
I'm
is not true?
saying.
The quorum?
There's no fuss about the presentation. As for presentation of the budget, you don't need the quorum to present the budget.
Really?
You don't even need to present the budget. Read the budget. You can just come and bow. The budget would have been presented. What I'm saying is that the signals from the majority group yesterday late, they released a statement that they have agreed to fully cooperate with the minister in the reading of the budget. And I go back to the October 25th statement when there was agreement with the president. Let us not torpedo this budget reading because of the person. No, the minister reads the budget on behalf of the president.
Right.
It is the president's budget. Okay. So
I don't think that is in dispute, and I don't think anyone is trying to torpedo anything. I guess all the scenarios are going to be played just to find out what could pan out. But just to clarify with you, are you suggesting that if there is a full walkout by members of parliament, the Minister of Finance can still go ahead and present the budget to whom?
You can just go and bow. The budget would have been presented without reading.
My question is to whom? It would have been presented to whom? The Speaker?
You are presenting the budget to Parliament, not to the MPs. So when the budget is presented to Parliament, by extension, it's presented to the Ghanaian people.
So Parliament, just to clarify, is it the Speaker, the clerks, is it the members of Parliament, or is it just the House of Parliament? I mean, I just want clarity on that.
So we present papers to Parliament every day, loan agreements, and the members of Parliament seated know how it is. You just come, you mention the documents to be presented, and you just bow. And the indication I'm getting is that there will be members of Parliament. Some might walk out, but there will still be members of Parliament in the House. So if even there are a third of them, he still presents the budget. The fixation on the presentation of the budget is unnecessary.
The fixation on the what? I missed that because of your mic.
On the presentation of the budget is necessary.
Right. So tomorrow then, I mean, to all intents and purposes, the budget will be presented and it will, that brings me to another point. How about the approval of the budget? I know the appropriations will happen after that, but after the reading of or the presentation of the budget, there are other processes that follow. What then happens? Assuming we have 1/3 of the force of Parliament, what then happens?
So that's the key one. If I was part of that group, that would be where I would go. I'm not going to be part of the approval. That is what will really hurt, and that's what will really be effective. If you say that so and so, I will not be part of that, then it's a cause and effect. But as for the reading, it is much ado about nothing. But if they indicate that they would not be part of the approval of the budget, where you need 50%, if even 2 MPs defect or decide to vote against the approval of the budget and join, say, the minority in rejecting, the budget is moot. It is gone. So that is where that is what can bite, not the presentation.
Right. So let's get to the budget proper. Interestingly, you may not have seen the Finder newspaper this morning. If you've seen it, fine. But this is what it has there. Excerpts of 2023 budget revealed. And it talks about a number of matters. It talks about the fact that the budget is going to be heavy on a property rate, that VAT is going to be increased. We are told it's going to move from 12.5 to about 14 or 15%. That will be a 1.5 or 2.5 percentage point increment. Then social protection is going to be in there. And then the point is made that a failure to pass it will derail much needed IMF and a much needed IMF bailout. My concern, though, is the fact that though you propose we could even put the budget out there on the internet without reading it, that there is going to be an increment in taxation, aka VAT. And again, that such information is out even before the finance minister reads the budget, purportedly. That is, if this turns out to be true. What's your take on that? And so, first of all, the document supposedly being leaked, if it turns out to be exactly this, then we know that there was some truth to this story. And then, secondly, an increment in taxation when most people are saying, look, we can't deal with further taxes. Your take?
Yeah, I think this is normal media working. I wouldn't call it a leak. but they must have put some, because I spoke to someone that I also had a clear sense of what is in there, some of these things we are mentioning. And so it wouldn't be a leak, but they themselves have thrown some of these out there to test the waters. So that's normal. The revenue side, you remember I said 2023 is going to be a difficult year. We should brace up. On the revenue side, these tax measures are going to come in, going to bite hard. But you give with one hand and you take with the other. I'm not seeing the expenditure side, the expenditure cuts of all the things you mentioned. They should have also told us that, oh, I'm going to take away teacher and nursing training allowance, which I think has outlived its usefulness.
Right.
The school feeding. Now the caterers go to the schools twice a week because the funds that they have cannot feed the kids. So why are we doing this to ourselves? We continue to pretend that we are feeding the kids at school. They are malnourished. The food is not good. Cancel it. Cancel the school feeding program. It will save you about 1 billion cedis. So I'm seeing revenue measures, but I'm not happy about the expenditure cuts. So those are the easy, low-hanging fruits that you can easily make savings thereof. So on the expenditure side, I need to hear from the minister that it's not too late. It's better to do something. At least teacher and nurses training allowance can go. You can entirely cancel the school feeding. And with the two, that will be a savings of about 1.5 billion Ghana cedis. So yes, revenue measures heavy on it, difficult choices. But if you want these approved by consensus, there should be some expenditure cuts, which will sit well.
Right. Doc, to wrap the conversation from your end, I just want to find out from you. Have you been spoken to about, likely taking on the role of finance minister? Your name has come up a number of times in different circles, on social media and newspapers. Is it something you would consider if you were nominated for that position? I've even heard some members of the minority, if memory serves, saying that your party doesn't like the man, that you could actually take up that position. Have you been spoken to about such a situation? And if you were, is it a challenge you would take up?
My friend, Honorable Dafiamepo has just sent me a text that actually answered that question.
I don't know whether he said, Honorable Dafiamepo, have you sent him a text to that effect?
Yeah, yes. He's actually answered that
boxing him to a tight corner.
No, I am not. I mean, I don't know why sometimes, look, Dr. Sayasibe, I think sometimes we get all... In other jurisdictions, this is a very, will you like to become finance minister if given, the nomination? Would you take it? I mean, it's a very fair question. Would you take it?
No, I would love to serve my country in whatever capacity I'm invited to do. That's what I would say.
So you would take it?
Why not?
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Mark Esibe Yeboah. Osei-Asibe, I beg your pardon. Dr.
My
Mark
name is Esibe, but I don't know where you get this Osei from.
No, my apologies. Dr. Mark.
Thank you. And my honorable member, sorry for taking your time. I had to do this, So.
No. It's
understood. We're grateful that you could make the time to join
us. This is your turf.
I know, right?
This is your comfort zone.
Right. I don't know whether I don't smell something in what Honorable Roxanne Nelson Dafiamepo is saying when you say it's his comfort zone. But let's leave it there.
Zone.
Let's leave it there. So let's get into...
No, what I mean is his comfort zone is finance.
Right.
Anything about public finance.
Right. So let's get into the budget. Let's start the conversation from there. We all know the different dynamics. I don't think I need to belabor that point. But on some of the very points I put to Mark Esibe Yeboah, we're looking at a 2023 budget, but there are still so many things that hobble, that budget, and we still don't have an IMF deal. Remember the first time we actually had to delay because we were hoping to get a deal before presenting the budget. We don't have the budget, yet we are looking at We don't have an IMF deal yet. We are looking at the budget. I'll start with you, Roxanne. Where do you think we find ourselves in terms of the budget presentation right now? What are you looking forward to?
Yes, thank you very much. The budget presentation is a constitutional imperative. So whether or not you are prepared, it has to be done. So that constitutional mandate will have to be fulfilled.
Now, we've even gone past
No, we haven't.
the appropriate date, haven't we?
No, the constitution is very clear. It says that
month
month before
the year ends.
before the financial year ends.
Okay. But there's a stipulation about November 15, isn't
No,
there?
no. It's wrong. Anybody who suggests that has a misunderstanding.
So the maximum we can do is 1 month before
Yes.
the end of what?
Yes.
The year or the
Financial
fiscal
year.
year?
Financial year.
The financial year.
The financial year. That's
So that's practically the end of the year.
yes. So it can be presented by November ending.
End of November.
Yes, it can be.
Last day of November.
Yes, it can be done. Is it within? So Article 179 clause 1 says the president shall cause to be prepared and laid before Parliament at least 1 month before the end of the financial year. Estimates of the revenues and expenditure of the government of Ghana for the following financial year.
Right.
So is that simple? So they are not in breach. Even if they are in breach, during election years, we have structured a system where there's expenditure before appropriation, so that you can spend before, because then a government cannot be preparing a budget for another government. So that constitutional structure has been formatted. So that structure can still work, even if they breach this statutory period. But the point is that, back to your question, what do we expect? On the 24th of March this year, 2022, the finance minister came before Parliament. He didn't come before Parliament, but he made a general statement on the economy, detailing some economic measures. He himself identified, I think, 5 areas of grave concern to government and the people. Increasing inflation rates, increasing interest rates, burgeoning debt portfolio, dwindling revenue levels, and general increase in price of commodities and I think fuel. And so they came out with measures, and we were told that these measures were reached as a result of a lot of consultations, some ending up at Peduasi cabinet retreat and all. What did the government come up with? One, they said they were going to ensure that fuel coupons, for instance, that they give to government appointees were going to be cut by 50%. So government will make some gains. They were going to ensure that government appointees' wages and salaries were cut by 30%. So government will make some gains. They were going to ensure that all ongoing projects will be completed, so new ones won't be started, so government can make some gains. They were going to ensure that high fuel prices were going to be reduced, so it can bring some comfort and succor to the people. They were going to ensure that innovative revenue mobilization formulas will be found, including the implementation of the e-levy. So we were urged to try and pass the e-levy. A week later, we passed the e-levy for them. So more new revenue sources will be open to government. So government can have some comfort in undertaking.
When you say we passed the e-levy for them, your caucus was not a part of that, were you?
We're not part of that. But the e-levy was passed by Parliament. I'm a member of Parliament.
I'm just saying that.
No, but I'm a member of Parliament.
Abstained from
I'm
that.
a member of Parliament.
But do go on.
Yes. So, I mean, we rejected the budget. They walked out. What about that? So, once Parliament has taken a decision,
I get it. As a house, it reflects
and
on
as a country we are upon. Then we were also told that as a government, they were going to ensure that inflation stayed stable. So prices of food and commodities will be affordable to the people. We were further told that government was going to ensure that imports that were arriving at the port, government will ensure that people will pay their duties before the items are taken out of the ports, so government can generate sufficient revenue. I have been hoping, and then further, I think I recall this one too, further, we're told that foreign trips were going to be, in fact, a moratorium was going to be placed on foreign trips except for critical ones.
Right.
So I was hoping that these measures were implemented from about April. So as a people, government ought to be telling us what were the gains of these policy measures that they implemented.
But you know, for example,
what
that
were
with the
benefits?
e-levy, the performance has not been anything close
Because
to
we
what
cautioned
expectation
government.
was. Around 7%,
yes,
10%.
because we cautioned government. We did the studies, we did the analysis. Other CSOs did it. We did comparative analysis. We brought studies from Cameroon. We brought studies from Rwanda. We brought studies from Tanzania. We brought studies from Uganda to compare. That contrary to government's own findings, which misled them into insisting on e-levy, it will rather degenerate, and that persons who were found in that space, subspace of the economic activities, were going to disengage, and the volumes of transactions will dwindle. And because the tax rates were a percentage of the volume of transfers, amounts transferred, once volumes dwindle, you won't get what you expect to get. They won't listen. They pushed it through. The reality has hit all of us. So I was also hoping that government would tell us that between, for instance, April and now, government, when they said they won't buy new vehicles, truly they haven't bought new vehicles, but I have seen government buy new vehicles within that period.
You have?
Yes. I have seen
For whom?
government, sorry?
For whom? For
From
which
ministries.
outfits? For
Ministry. I know ministries that have purchased new vehicles.
like which ones?
Communications.
The communications ministry
Yes.
bought new vehicles.
Yes, we've just gone round public accounts. These are some of our reports.
Right.
And when we encountered them, they bought new vehicles. And these were encounters that we did between August, July, August, and about September. And you encountered the people.
So just to move the point forward,
Yes,
so
but-
you're basically trying to say that some of the measures that have been put in place have simply not worked, and something that they said they would do have not been done.
Nearly all.
Right.
Nearly all the economic measures
Right.
that the finance minister came out on the 24th of March 2022, this year, that they will roll out to bring economic comfort to the people. It hasn't happened.
Right.
Not a single one of them, because there have been a surge in foreign travels. They just returned from Egypt with 332 participants. That was most unnecessary. So when government said that, for instance, there's a 30% cut in wages and salaries of its appointees, we want to know what were the benefits. How are we able to tell that if you have stopped giving 50% of the coupons that you give to government appointees, how much savings have we made? We should
Right.
be told.
Right.
We haven't been told. When government says that, for instance, all imports arriving in the country from about April to now, they will ensure that people pay their import duties before the goods are taken out of the harbor. We want to know how much savings we made or how much revenue has come through that stream. We've not been told. Only for the president a month ago to come and address the nation and come up with his own set of economic measures.
Right.
Number one of which include an IMF package being the basis for transformation. And the IMF package is not happening now. Like we just listened to the submissions from Dr. Sibe Ebua. So government will struggle to bring a budget tomorrow. And I don't see any recovery in sight.
You don't see any recovery
don't
in
see
sight.
any recovery
Government
in
will
sight.
struggle to bring a budget tomorrow,
and I don't see
you
any
don't see any
recovery
recovery in sight.
sight.
At least we know that the NPP majority has some agreement as far as showing up tomorrow is concerned. Whether all the members will show up and whether they will participate in the approvals is another thing. But how do you react to the fact that we have a bit of a leak here with talks about an increment in VAT? What
It will
picture
be
does that
it will
paint?
be it will be a sad day for the people and everyone for government to increase VAT, because you see, as part of the components for charging VAT includes statutory deductions, payment of statutory funds, like GET Fund, like NHIs and all. Now, it's a matter of fact that government has since collateralized, for instance, the statutory deductions of payments for GET Fund. So any attempt to increase the VAT rate, for which there will be an increase, because you see the deductions to GET Fund is on percentage terms, which will ensure that more monies are deducted and paid to GET Fund. It won't go straight to GET Fund.
Right.
We have collateralized that source of funding. And so it's going to go to the institution that we collateralize the funding for. So it won't serve the purpose. It won't serve the purpose.
Right.
But here is what I have a problem with. We have a group of majority MPs, nearly 80% of them, issued a statement. Subsequently, the entire majority caucus have come out to say, in fact, as recently as last week, Thursday, the majority leader issued a statement and said that they have not moved away from their original position of demanding the resignation of the finance minister.
Right.
They still stick to their original position. Now, we have a minority that have taken concrete steps to move a motion of censure, which is in progress. Then, yesterday, I woke up to a statement that the majority have reached some arrangement with government to, as it were, back down on their initial demands of demanding immediate resignation of some set of ministers, including the finance minister. I have said that press conferences do not remove a minister of state. It's not because you see, press conferences are a declaration of intentions. They have very little effect when you make certain demands. But the Constitution mandates you in Article 82 to do what you think in law can ensure that a minister is censured. Right. They are not willing to support us. So I have said that the majority MPs simply threw dust into our eyes.
All right. Let me come to Dr. Kingsley Nyarko on that point. Is that what happened? I don't know whether you were one of those who initially, because at a point we've been told 80 of you, at a point we said the entire majority caucus, and then recently we were told some 98 of you. Do you feel Ken Ofori-Atta, the Minister of Finance, should have resigned by now?
So the majority caucus met with the president after the press conference was organized on the 25th of October last month. The agreement was that a certain roadmap had to be adhered to, or the request the president put before the caucus. And the caucus, together with the presidency, agreed that the finance minister should be allowed to present the budget to the House, proceed with the appropriation, and conclude the IMF deal. That was the request. It was agreed. And a statement...
So if the IMF deal drags on for 2023, let's assume we don't get it in the first quarter like we suggested, and maybe it drags on even into the third quarter, let's just be hypothetical. It means the finance minister will be at post.
The bottom line was that there was an agreement that was signed by no meaner person than the majority leader of the House.
Right.
I'm sure you had a copy of the statement. I'm sure you read it yourself. So if we now decide that even though we've reached an agreement with the president, we're not going to respect the president's, we're not going to respect the agreement. And I mean, that is not fair. Within our cultural setting, I mean, that is not right. So what happened yesterday was to implement the agreed roadmap. And for us, it was fair. You know what I mean? It was fair that that decision was taken. And we hope that, as agreed, the president will act per the dictates of the agreement. That's it. Okay, so we've done nothing untoward. We've not thrown that into anybody's eye. The point is that we decided to follow what was agreed upon. Some of our colleagues thought otherwise. But I'm sure within the period, the interval, I mean, they saw wisdom in listening and also implementing the agreed roadmap. So, you see, the budget that is going to be read tomorrow is the president's budget. It's the budget for the people of Ghana. If you read, as my good friend read Article 179 of the Constitution and at Order 138 of our standing order, it is clear. The budget has to be read on behalf of the president, by the finance minister. You know, it was in the Constitution and in our standing orders. Who reads the budget is clear. The finance minister.
So now, Ken Ofori-Atta has your full support to go ahead with that. Read the budget, go through the appropriations, secure an IMF deal, and then what?
You know, for me, what I saw yesterday told me that we are thinking more about Ghana. We are thinking more about having a budget that will help to address the challenges we are going through as a nation. For me, that is more important. It's not about the finance minister. It's not about you, Ben, or me, Kingsley, or Roxton. It's about the people of Ghana. The people of Ghana who are going through some form of pains as a result of the unexpected exogenous factors, largely that have brought nations and economies to their knees. That's the reason why we feel that we need to, because you see, per the Constitution, the budget has to be presented, okay, at least a month before the end of the financial year.
Today is the 23rd.
If it is not, yes, so if it is not done, what is the implication? There's going to be a lacuna, there's going to be a gap. No budget. How do we move the country? How do we ensure that our policies and programs are implemented to benefit the people?
So you're doing this out of convenience, basically, to prevent some sort of standstill when it comes to government's business.
We are doing this because the people of Ghana has given us the mandate to govern to their benefits. That's what we are doing.
I thought it was the same people you were reflecting when you said that you didn't want the finance minister, you didn't even want him to present this budget because it was reflective of what the generality of the people, your constituents, were saying.
No, you are boxing two things together. When the agreement was reached, it was subsequently that a group said that they were going to prevent the minister from reading the budget. You know what I mean? So we need to decouple the two. Okay, some people felt that it wouldn't be convenient for him to read the budget. That was it, and that is different from the general expression of discontentment about the finance minister during the press conference. Okay, and that issue was addressed when the presidency and the majority caucus met and agreed to that roadmap. You see, so I mean, Ghanaians should understand that it is not about individuals within our caucus. It's not about the NDC or the NPP. It's about having a budget that is supposed to be precipitated on the IMF deal,
okay,
to bring some ease and fiscal space for us to move this economy forward. I mean, so now the budget proper tomorrow, for me, let me tell you something. When Kwasi Kwarteng came up with this budget statement and not put on a particular platform that per the measures he had introduced, he was going to be hunted. And he was hunted by Hans, the new finance minister. Because you see, in these critical times, two things. You can choose to be populist.
Right.
You can come up with populist policies or pragmatic and prudent policies. If you go the populist way, you might get short-term benefits, but they might backfire and bring untold hardship to the people. This is a time that we must all build ourselves up for some austerity measures. Because you see, when you are even sick, at times it gets difficult before you get better. So the point I'm making is that we should expect that there might be some form of difficult decisions or measures captured in the budget. But these difficult measures might bring relief and respite to us and the economy. So, for example, I've heard, because I spoke with one of the ministers, and it's true that there's going to be some upward adjustments regarding the VAT rate.
And that was something I was getting to. Dr. Sibeyeboa made mention of the fact that 2023 would be pretty difficult. It would be difficult. But even as you talk on that, I just want to make the point. When you look at a 40.4% inflation, and then you look at the CD having depreciated by about 54% in this year alone, with a further taxation, a hike in VAT, is that taking into consideration the suffering of the ordinary Ghanaian? Since you've started going there already.
Yeah, so we all want the fiscal space, okay? And don't forget that there are talks about debt restructuring. When you are restructuring your debt, it means that you are speaking with lenders to bring down their interest rates and also giving you some grace period, long time to pay those debt back, okay? So with the debt restructuring, we are going to have some fiscal space in terms of delayed repayment on loans. And if you're likely, reduction in the interest rate. So we are going to get some fiscal space. So this additional revenue measure of increasing marginally the VAT rate will also give us some revenue envelope to help us to be able to embark on some of the interventions that we seek to achieve. I'm also aware that, for example, the school feeding rate is going to be increased a bit. And I think that will also...
When you say rates, you mean how much is given for school feeding is going to go up?
90% or so. I'm told that it might see an upward movement.
Right.
Sure. So that will also enable the caterers to get some enhanced money, and it also affects traders in terms of getting some monies for expansion and all that. I'm also aware that the LEAP, Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty, in terms of the size, is going to increase horizontally.
That's also part of what we got from this reported leak.
Yeah, it's going to have a horizontal expansion, and the rate will also see an upward shift. So for me, let us, and also YouStart is going to be, YouStart is going to be implemented this year, starting at the district levels, okay? And we were all in Parliament when we were briefed. An amount of 500 million cedis has been secured to implement at the district level. And it will also find further expression in the 2023 budget. All these are supposed to help us to break down the rate of unemployment in this country. So, Ben, in difficult times, we need to come up with pragmatic, workable, far-reaching interventions that will help us move in a better
just give me a yes or no answer to this. So will the 2023 budget give any hope to the ordinary Ghanaian in terms of better times to come? Will it give any hope?
Yeah, I'm sure from what I've told you, for me, I'm optimistic, and I think that is a hopeful budget.
Okay.
And that is the mindset of the president and the government. We need to make sure that we do everything in our power to ensure that we give hope to the people, and this hope must be manifested in the measures we put in place. Measures that will soothe their pains, measures that will bring some jobs to their children, measures that will, help us to bring down, for example, the price of fuel, measures that will help us to deal with the depreciation of our currency.
So the point is made. Interestingly, recent reports from the World Bank, from even the Ghana Statistical Service, suggest that we're bleeding jobs by the millions. Even the males who have lost jobs between quarters 1 and 2, 1.1 million in just quarters 1 and 2 of the year. But let me come to Roxanne Nelson Dafiamekpo on this issue. I want us to summarize our expectations when it comes to the budget, crucial areas that you would want to see addressed. When you look at the Finder newspaper this morning, it talks about fiscal adjustments, increasing the revenue generation, prioritizing value addition, and some commitment to achieving fiscal consolidation, which has come to the fore. For you, Roxanne, what areas do you feel in 2023, based on where we are, we should be focusing on? And I want us to do that briefly so that we can also have a bite at the Saglemi situation.
Now, I have in my hand the 2022 budget statement, which is in operation now. Every single projection is out of gear. We were told in this budget that they have gross reserve sufficient for 4 months of import cover. Now we can't even find forex. We don't have it. We were told that inflation will be managed at about 12%. Inflation is out of the roof, 40% in excess. Interest rates have gone beyond 30%. So when you hear them say that they want to put in measures to recover the economy, there's no trust. The people have no trust in the team managing the economy now. So I am hoping that, friends, that this top-heavy government will be downsized. Downsized in the sense that we can merge transport with railways.
Okay.
Downsized.
It's being considered.
So you are confirming that that is being considered?
No, I mean,
downsized in the sense that we can merge,
Right.
we can merge aviation, we can merge transport with railways, and merge works and housing with say industry. There's a ministry.
Housing and sanitation. He's talking about things he has read and heard.
Oh, what did I say?
Well, he actually mentioned, industry rather
what
than.
did I say? I haven't read it.
I was also thinking along the lines of sanitation and water resources.
I'm speaking of you downsizing.
He mentioned something different.
No, I haven't read it.
Please go ahead, Roxanne.
If there's something I haven't read. But President Mahama, in his speech last month, made these recommendations that government must downsize and reduce expenditure. Government told us from the beginning of the year that they were cutting expenditure by about 30%, if you recall.
Right.
We have been asking what were the expenditure lines that were affected. We've not been told. So that we can make the assessment and ask for maybe a further downsizing of that, a further cut of that. We've not been told. I expect that some creation of statutory agencies will cease. Appointment of CEOs and several deputy CEOs with personal assistants will stop. For instance, why do we have a separate secretariat for free SHS when there's a director for secondary education?
Right.
It doesn't make sense. And we have a coordinator who is giving all sorts of packages as an office holder. For instance, why do we have a separate secretariat?
So I think the point is made when it comes to
so downsizing. Yes, so we have to downsize. That is one.
Right.
Then we have to cut down on foreign trips. The president himself must stop flying private jets.
But there's a moratorium on that in terms of.
It hasn't happened. They said so in March this year. It hasn't happened. There have been many heavy travels since then.
Private jets. I don't remember the last time he used private jets.
Why? Is it that you don't know or you don't remember? Should we tell you how many private jets he's used between March and now?
Please go ahead with your points
Yes.
of what should be addressed.
And then they told us that they were going to stick to ongoing projects. But the president has cut the sword for new projects between April and now. I've counted about 20. When you are saying that you will start new projects, and yet you go ahead and initiate new projects, that's a problem.
So what do you want done about that?
Because you mention it as an economic measure to ensure that the economy recovers, so that you don't sink money into new projects, but you want to complete existing ones, so they can begin to yield dividends for the people. You haven't stuck to that.
Right.
So,
Which new projects are you referring to?
which new projects? I have listed them. I can mention them for you. So
Name two.
the president just cut the sword for the
Is it the road?
yes.
Okay.
Road that it should be done. Yes.
So we should start building roads.
I didn't say. You said so. And I'm
I think
saying that
the point he's making
yes,
is
on
we are cutting
24th
swords.
March.
I mean, there could be
Yes.
different ways of looking at that.
You
particular
said as part of the economic measures, you start new projects. You finish existing ones. I didn't say so. You said so.
So beyond that, what
Yes.
else?
Beyond that,
Maybe one more point.
one more point. Look, the school feeding program. We must stop using foreign rice to feed our children.
Okay.
You understand? We are sinking so much money. You heard Dr. Sibeyebua. He mentioned that about $1 billion. And we give money to these people. Caterers will go and buy Thai rice and feed our children. And even the feeding is not done properly. So there's some siphoning somewhere. If you read the public, the Auditor General's report, which the public accounts is going through and coming out with its own report, it's mind-boggling.
Right.
Then leakages. Look, for instance, how does the University of Winnipeg go and invest money that they cannot recover?
Right. So that's your final point.
Yes, how is that possible?
Right.
And these are in the reports. State institutions are using public funds, investing them in private funds that turn out to have problems and they cannot recover them. And nothing's happening.
So crucial points that you have made briefly, but from what we've seen so far, just give me a yes or no, same as I posed to Dr. Nyako. Are you expectant? Do you have any hope from that? If these turn out to be true, would they give you any hope in 2023?
The hope that I will expect government to give the people is to reduce taxes on the fuel products, for instance. There are a lot of taxes, including COVID-19 recovery levy. Why are we being taxed? The IMF gave us so much money. So why are the people still being taxed?
Right.
Sanitation levy, what has been the impact?
Right.
We need to review that. Fuel stabilization. Now,
So the question is, do you see any light at the end of the tunnel?
if
Are you hopeful?
these taxes are lifted,
Right.
then it will bring hope to the people.
Okay.
But if there are more taxes are added,
Like
then
the
there will be
VAT.
then there will be no hope.
For you, considering all of these matters, what are your expectations?
So,
Briefly.
briefly, but let me clear a few issues. The president, when he said that there will be no new projects, he was referring to projects that are being done by the development authorities, like the Middle Belt, the Coastal Belt, and all that. Building
That is not
roads.
what the finance minister
That,
meant.
that what I know.
No, that is not
That
what
what I
he
know.
said.
So
don't-
just to clarify, he's saying that is
don't
what he
restate-
knows.
Don't
No,
restate.
Roxanne, let's
no,
clarify.
no.
He's saying that is what he
but,
knows.
But the Coastal Development Authority, Middle Belt Development Authority, Northern Belt
They have to
Development
focus
Authority
on
are only
on
3
existing-
agencies.
They're supposed to focus
They
on
never
existing-
said so. They never said so.
Roxanne,
Sometimes
I'm
don't
telling
twist
you,
things. Don't do
Roxanne,
propaganda.
Roxanne, so my point is,
Don't
he's
do
saying
propaganda.
according to what he
telling-
knows.
Yes.
What does he know?
Government
Did the
authority-
finance
So let's
minister
restrict it to
speak? You see, let
No, let us
speak to the statement that was
Roxanne,
issued
let
by the
him make
finance
his
minister.
point, and then if you have any reactions, you
It
can.
will be unthinkable to say that you're not going to build new roads. When every Friday, the number of questions that are asked by constituents, by MPs on roads.
Right.
You ask questions on roads. Until last week you did.
That is Roxanne.
Yes.
I say grade my roads. That's all.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes. So
Is that a new project?
if a community is
It's
asking
only
for
you
roads
who
to be
say that
done,
filling potholes include the construction of new roads.
So that point is made. I think you can move on now to the-
interest rates have gone up.
Right.
But see, we brought interest rates to as low as 12.5%.
We speak
And
of today.
You know why interest rates increase? It is a response in dealing with inflation. That is why it is around 23% now. It has its a bad side in terms of,
Interest rate is not 23%. It is not.
tell me the figure now.
It is 30.
He mentioned it was around 30%.
It is 30.
Interest rates? As we
Interest, it
speak
is
now,
30. Check.
the interest rate has increased, as I sit here, to about 23%. The interest rate from the Bank of Ghana, when the policy rates were increased. I mean, we know this for a fact. And this was done in response to bringing down
but let me
inflation.
tell you, even if you get to the banks, and I mean, especially if you're on a facility and the rest, it's more than that.
The Bank of Ghana will set their rate. Commercial banks will also have their figures based on, the fear of borrowers defaulting. I mean, these are there. These are there. These are there.
Is that not part of the risk of borrowing?
Roxanne, please let me make it.
So I'm saying that.
But you are allowing him to
interest
mislead
rates
the people. That is not how interest rates.
I think
calculate.
the proper corrections have been
This
done. So
is an unfair comment. You know
It's
what I mean?
okay.
Please,
I will
please
draw
go
it.
ahead.
I will draw it.
Please go ahead.
Inflation is high. We agree. But the interest rates being increased is supposed to respond to that. And you see,
I think you're missing the point I want to be made is what are your expectations of the budget? What do you hope will the key interventions will be?
In my first submission,
I just want you to rehash that very quickly.
I alluded to that, but I had to also deal with some of the issues
Which
that
you've dealt with.
So, for me, we need fiscal space. We need to be able to enhance our revenue envelope.
Right.
So that we should be able to cater for the social goods and services demanded by the people.
Okay.
For me, that is
should be
very
our focus.
critical. So I'm expecting that this budget will deal with that.
Okay. All right.
Make sure that the Ghanaian,
Right.
the ordinary Ghanaian, has some revenue, okay, some fiscal balance to be able to carry on their normal
So let's wrap the conversation with this, gentlemen. I want the two of us to quickly wrap the conversation. I'll give you 2 minutes each on the Saglemi situation. Some parliamentarians, from the minority, were at the outfit, and the threat is that look, if you go ahead as a private developer or whatever to make a purchase on this, should the NDC come to power in 2025, you're going to have your fingers burnt. But on the other end, the Minister for Works and Housing has said that, look, based on their assessment, the ministry would need 30 million to connect the uncompleted housing units to potable water, 8 million to connect them to electricity, $46 million needed for off-site infrastructure, an additional 68 million for on-site infrastructure. And so it doesn't make sense. There are two schools of thought on the matter, some for, some against. What are your thoughts? I'll start with you, Dr. Nyako. And for you, so I'll give you 2 minutes. For Roxanne, I'll give you 2 minutes, 30 seconds. The 30 seconds for your reaction, Dr. Nyako.
Okay, so Saglemi project, this housing project has been in limbo for a very long time. And I think that we need proper investigation so that
Investigations still?
Yeah,
at this point?
Because you see, somebody must be made to provide questions regarding this particular facility. Because
after 6 years, we still need investigation.
For me, I am asking, because you see, somebody must be culpable. Somebody must give us answers. And that is what I feel it is not being done. You cannot convince me that a project that began about 6-7 years ago, and still we don't have monies to complete it. What went amiss? What went wrong? Let us ask the right questions and find out who must be made to provide the right answers. Because as you did say, now the fear is that if the private developer is given the facility to complete, a different party comes maybe in future, then there could be some trace in this whole thing. We don't want that. We don't want that.
So in essence, you are in support of a sale to a private developer. You are in support of that.
The facility or the project must not go wasted. Something must be done so that...
And is this the solution? Is this what must be done?
No, if this is going to be done, I'm saying that we must do things that will not bring future liability to government.
Okay.
For me, that is very critical.
That's the
we must do things right to benefit the people of Ghana. But you see, let us go for those who we feel, with evidence, have done something untoward, bringing us to this particular stage in our life.
Thank you, Dr. Nyako. For you, so you have maximum 2 minutes, 30 seconds. The 30 seconds for your reaction.
Yes. One. If we go to page 12.
No. His reaction is.
If we go to page 12 of the 24th March 2022 Minister's Statement on Economic Measures. This is what he says. Paragraph 7. No, that'll be paragraph 8, Roman numeral. Prioritize ongoing public projects over new projects. This is to enhance the efficient use of limited public funds over the period by finishing ongoing or stalled but approved projects.
I didn't say he won't do any new projects.
Oh, what's the language there?
He didn't say that.
What are you saying?
You were emphatic that.
What are you saying?
No, he said
yes.
prioritize.
But what is prioritization?
Prioritization. It doesn't mean that you
sit here and say he mentioned Coda. You sat here and say he meant Coda.
I know. I know that one.
I didn't allow him to echo you. Don't eat into 2 minutes. Please go ahead.
But you have to be factual.
Please wrap.
I have read documents to you, your own document. Then you are saying I should be factual.
Please,
you are reading things from your mind.
Please wrap.
Misread it.
I misread the English.
Roxanne, your time is.
You are allowing him to be
Go ahead with your
You are
point,
misbehaving, Doc. Stop it.
I quit.
No, yes, it's good you quit. Listen, this Saglemi matter is a tragedy. We have just spent so much money to demolish houses meant for judges to build a chapel. But use the same public funds to go to Kumasi to build another set of residential rooms for judges. In July this year, the minister responsible for defense came to Parliament in response to a question filed by a member that the Saglemi housing project or housing site has been handed over to the military to occupy. And so they will take steps to go into occupation and put the property to the proper use. We were all happy. Only for us to wake up last week for a different minister to say that he, as the minister in charge for the project, has taken steps to sell off the project to a private entity.
Do you disagree with that?
I disagree with that.
Okay.
You see, Parliament approved
the loan. So this will be your final comment?
Yes, Parliament approved the loan for purposes of building an affordable housing for the people. We didn't approve a loan to build a housing estate and sell to private developers.
Right.
So if the purpose of the original purpose of the project has changed, they must come back to Parliament. And the transaction must be subject to parliamentary approval. Okay. And that is where we'll get them.
Okay.
But any private developer who is thinking of acquiring Saglemi must think twice.
So should the NDC come to power, you execute your threat. What would it mean?
We will take over the project.
They must tell us.
You know there are contractual agreements, right? You can't just take over a project.
The contractual agreement is that you build and give to the people at affordable.
The government in power now could,
so government must come. Hold on. Let the government come back to let the government come back to Parliament.
Are you aware that could lead to a judgment debt? Are you aware of
judgment debt on whose part?
It could lead to a judgment debt.
Why? If Saglemi is a subject of criminal prosecution, is it not? So why are you selling something that's a subject of criminal prosecution?
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your thoughts with us this morning. Initially, we had former chair of the Finance Committee of Parliament, Dr. Mark Esibe Yeboah, joining the conversation via Zoom. In the studio, we've had Roxanne Nelson Dafemekpo, Member of Parliament for South Dai. We've also had Dr. Kingsley Nyako, Member of Parliament for Kwadaso, joining the conversation. Once more, it was a bit feisty, but thank you so much, gentlemen. Well, coming up after the break, we'll be engaging the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. We know that some outfits have been calling for or have been agitating on some issues to do with the labor front. What can we expect on that, especially as there is a crunch meeting today? We'll bring you more details on that after the break. Do stay.